Hey, crypto pirates, welcome to Chatting with the Captain, Captain RG3 here once again on a Monday night with a very, very special guest. Cannot wait to get into this conversation. We have the one, the only, the Queen of Gold, guys. Lynette Zang is actually coming on Chatting with the Captain to yuck it up about finance, gold, crypto, the whole thing. And we're gonna get into it because this is a person with wisdom and knowledge. And I always tell you guys, there's nothing new under the sun. And when you get a hold of people that are from my generation, the generation before me, and you could learn anything from them, please open your ears because there's nothing new under the sun. Every scam, everything has been run on this world so many times, time and time again. And it's people like Lynette that uncode that and say, hey guys, this has happened before. Get ready. It's about to happen again. So going to be a great show. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat room. What's happening, everybody? Oh, look, we got Daraj in there and my partner Kinetics, the hardest working man at DS. Tony Faulkner. Who else is in here? Crypto King, our producer. Hey, Crypto King. I got Lynette, not you. Everybody, Crypto King brings guests on the show like you wouldn't believe. But I got to meet Lynette in person, and she agreed to come on the show. What a wonderful lady. I can't wait to introduce her to you guys. For those of you who don't know her, I know a lot of you already do know her, and that's why I love you in here. Jim Rat, what's up, buddy? Daniel, who else? DB Cooper, Crypto Hexdeck, first guy in the room. Welcome, everybody. Today is going to be really special because I know everybody's on pins and needles, waiting for Pulse Chain to launch, waiting for crypto to absolutely actually be birthed. Guys, the metaverse and real crypto starts when Pulse Chain launches, and we are probably weeks, days away from that happening. So everybody should be getting excited. We're also, I talked to my boy, Hexologist, and he agreed with me that when Pulse Chain launches, we will do a 24-hour live stream. Yes, once again, me and the Hexologist will do a 24-hour live stream, and you guys can help keep us awake by joining us. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you guys to this wonderful lady that I met when I was at the Rebel Capitalist event. So this event was in Texas, and they talked about everything under the sun, from prepping yourself for, global zombie apocalypses and devastation and all this other stuff, and protecting your finances, protecting your assets, diversifying yourself, knowing what's going on, putting your finger on the pulse of what's going on right now in finance and in the world. So it was a great event. I had a great time talking to people there. We talked crypto, we talked finance, we talked gold, and I got to meet this wonderful lady, Lynette Zang, and she is the head of, or I should say she's the spokesperson and the head of ITM trading, the face that's out there. And I got to fly back on the plane with her and her daughter, and it was just a wonderful time, and I couldn't wait to get her on. And it's been months we've been trying to get this scheduled, so here we are. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the Queen of Gold, ITM's voice, Lynette Zang. How are you?
I'm great, Roy, and it's so good to see you. And by the way, I have pieces of 8 right here.
Oh, hey! Have your person that I've been talking to put them on the list of purchases that I have to make for my gold bag.
Okay, I will do
nice.
that. Write that down, Edgar.
So, how are you? How are things going? What's happening?
Oh, wow! I mean, there's lots. Personally, I'm great. So thank you very much for asking. But there is so much that's going on right now. And it should be obvious to everybody that, everything is really, the system that we're in is falling apart.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's always been falling apart in my opinion. By design. And you and I both know that all currencies find an end, and that all marketplaces find an end. We've seen it time and time again through ancient history, in current history. But but it's not an end, it's a new beginning. It's
It's an
a
end and a
reemergence,
beginning, right?
and a reemergence of the new. And that's what I really want to talk about is what's the solution? How do we prepare for what is about to happen? And then well, first let's go back and talk about your history a little bit. So I want everybody to know who you really are, because
Okay.
you're not just, started a gold company or got partners with a gold company and started shilling gold and this and that. You're actually like born and raised in finance and business.
Yeah.
Like the little girl, you were working in New York with your family in the trading business, right? And
Well,
antiques and all these kinds of things.
well, it's what I say is I have been groomed for this moment in time, and I've been studying these markets on different levels since I was 10 years old. So yes, I've been in this my entire life. My uncle was a major antique dealer, and he really taught me the pattern of how physical assets move from undervaluation to fair valuation to overvaluation to fair valuation to undervaluation in a constant figure eight loop. And so that was really significant. And then I've been a banker, I studied business finance, and I've been a stockbroker. And in 87, this is when all the globalization was happening. And I've been studying currencies since 1987. And you see patterns, you notice things
Yes.
that happen the same way every single time. And I don't know, I'm thinking if I'm seeing the same patterns and we're doing the same things, then we are most likely to get the same outcomes.
Right. Isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Correct.
So
And
don't be insane.
look at the insanity of the feds. I
Oh,
mean, come on.
I mean, so let's talk about that a little bit. So obviously you've been groomed in this. You understand. You've been through cycles. You're like me. Nothing new under the sun, guys. Look at the tea leaves. They tell you the story every time.
Exactly.
But let's. I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about real quick.
Patterns and repeatable patterns,
Yeah. Doggone it. No,
monetary systems,
the systems.
patterns
Well,
that you see.
so you saw it change in the 80s the first time, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's when,
1971. I was like 17-ish, something like that.
and you
So
were already working at a bank at that point, right?
I started in banking when I was 15.
And that's when Nixon took us off of the gold standard, correct?
Yes, but the way that I like to say that, because it's
Uh-huh.
more true, is
Mhm.
that that's when Nixon handed over the full control of inflation to private banks.
That's the
Big
key
deal.
word, private banks.
Mm-hmm.
Is that now, isn't there something to be said about capitalism and letting,
Oh,
the people do the right thing, right?
capitalism, I 100% agree with. I definitely consider myself a capitalist. But what we
So,
have is crony capitalism, where the
there
winners
we
and
go.
the losers are chosen by the guys at the top that control the money. And that
Gotcha.
I don't agree with.
And that's the banksters, the early banksters is what you'd have to call that, right?
Exactly. But even now, I mean, early banksters or, current, they manipulate the markets. It's called financial engineering
Uh-huh.
to get an outcome that they think that they want. But you even had the head of the IMF the other day admit that they didn't really know what they were doing when they were printing all of this funny money, right? And they said, oh, well, we didn't think about the unintended consequences. No, they don't. So we've got this huge game of whack-a-mole. Of course, that is making the assumption that they're trying to hold this whole system together. And I don't think that's an accurate assumption. But they are
No,
playing a bunch of games of whack-a-mole these days.
no, because they've been trying to keep power and keep more money for themselves, and that's what crony capitalism is the people at top staying at the top and continuing to drag their people along with them and making it harder on the rest of us. I've heard you say things like, "Look, they're hiding inflation." They're inflating all of these things around us and
Right.
giving us more money and making it seem like, oh, we're getting raises and everything's going good. But in actuality, they're inflating the costs of everything from healthcare to gasoline to food to even how we set up our own communities. We're paying more and more for all of those things. Um,
Absolutely. And when you look at wages, see, now it's very
mm,
obvious, right? But back in 1971, the average wage was 9,500 bucks, and a
yeah.
family of four needed one wage earner. Now, I'm not saying
Yep.
they were super loaded, but they only needed
Yeah.
one wage earner to support a family of four. Today, I think the average wage is like 58 grand. And you'd go, well, yeah,
Mm,
I'd much rather have 58,000 than 9,500,
mm.
except that you need two wage earners. And what did they stimulate? Anybody that made any family that made less than 150,000 a year.
Yep.
So why did they need to stimulate people that are earning that level? Because it's not enough. It's still paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And everything else is going up so much faster.
Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting these days is that they are openly saying, yes, look at all of this. The workers in such good shape. Look at how much more money they're making. But the inflation is running even hotter than the wage inflation. And,
Yes.
what they knew is if they could keep the inflation hidden from the population, if it just went up that 2% a year, that they would get what they wanted, but you wouldn't ask for higher wages. Now that's changing. It's really quite, I mean, they are brilliant. They're
Yeah,
even
and they've skimmed us with these
brilliant.
401ks. They
Oh,
took
yeah.
all the pensions away. So just to let you know my background a little bit, so you understand where I'm coming from. I grew up in the '70s with a grandfather who was military and he was a pressman. He worked on the presses in LA and made steel bomb casings and pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. My dad, my stepfather, who adopted me, was a machinist. He worked all his life as a machinist. Both of them were single income earners. My grandmother worked, and they were wealthy. We thought they were wealthy because there was two earners in the house. Oh my gosh, that was unheard of. They were the wealthy class at that point.
Mhm.
And my father was in the middle class, and he supported our whole family of five with one wage. And like you said, that wage wasn't very much. And we had a small home. We had two cars. I mean, they were Volkswagens, and we lived in a 2-3 bedroom home. But I mean, we were comfortable,
Which were
and we didn't.
comfortable.
It wasn't like if I've been the only. I tried to do the same thing my father did, and tried to be a single income earner, but I had to make 150, 175. I had to work 16 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. My kids grew up not knowing who I was because I was gone working all the time.
Yep.
And the productivity numbers. Now, this is when I started looking at things because I'm just a worker guy. I just worked my ass off for 30 years. And
Mhm.
I started looking at things like productivity numbers and how productivity numbers are going through the roof because of guys like me out there busting my tail. My dad didn't have to work on Saturdays. He hung out with us on Saturdays, took us to the beach and those kinds of things. Same with my grandfather. They were off on the weekends and they worked hard during the week and they worked 8-hour days. And every once in a while they'd get mad because they had to work overtime. I had to get as much overtime as I could in order to survive. And all of my buddies right now, all of my 50-something-year-old buddies right now are on their couch, destitute, drinking their lives away, eating their lives away because they don't have a pot to piss in. They
Yeah.
don't have anything but these ridiculous piece of crap 401ks. They're watching the value of their dollar go away and their
Yeah.
savings go away. The work that they did, nobody's appreciated. They're overworking the hell out of them because they can't get people into the workforce anymore because these young kids don't want to do what we did all of our lives. So I'm seeing a real destitute place in the men, and women who are out there working between the ages of 45 and 55. It's like, what happened? What happened
Right.
to us? Where are we at? What did they program this money to do to screw us so badly? And that's
You
where
talk
we're at.
about the productivity, and if I had a graph
Mhm.
here, and maybe we can send you one, but you'll look at up to the 70s, productivity and wage increases were right together. Once you
Yes.
hit 71, 80, that's when they started to diverge. So the productivity was there, but the wages were not. And that's really what's enabled all of this income and wealth inequality is the very monetary system. So back in those days, the average owner or CEO of a company made 20 times what the average worker made. Today, it's like, I think Jamie Dimon makes over 1,000 times what the average worker makes. But I think the average is like 380 times.
And see, that disparity is ridiculous. I mean, I get it. You know, you work hard, you go to school and you become a CEO of a bank. Great, pay you. But 1,000 times more than the workers are making, that's just insanity to me. I don't know how we've allowed this, how we've allowed them to get away with this kind of garbage.
It was set up. What are you talking? Are you kidding me? It was
So this is where we're going to have a very interesting conversation, Lynette, because that's what I understand is they set this son of a bitch up to do this to us. And here we are having to play with it and having to deal with it. And I see people trying to come up with solutions. And one of the solutions that I found, and I want to hear your opinion on this also, is cryptocurrencies. And not any cryptocurrency in particular, but when I got into the space, I saw that it was immutable money. It was money that could be created outside of the hands of these people, and that the people can hold it and take care of it. And just like gold, like, you know, gold, you always say in your hand, gold, right? Gold that's in your hands.
You don't hold it. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Yep. Just like in crypto, we have the same saying. We say, you know, not your keys, not your crypto. If you don't have it, if you don't own it, because there's a lot of custody out there of other companies and middlemen that want to get a hold of your crypto and hold it. Oh, let us hold it for you. We'll give you yield on it, you know, and all of these things. So all of this counterparty risk, and a lot of these people have lost their money because of that. But back to my point. My point is that they programmed the money to be pushed into their pockets and out of the masses' pockets, out of our pockets. So like you said, they very, very intelligently skimmed little bits of our money away from us. And kind of like that frog in the pot situation, right? Like they boiled us all. Like I came into the workforce in the 80s and from the good old generation of my grandfather to, you know, my father who's in, you know, a boomer, all hardworking folks, you know, and I thought, okay, get to work early, leave late, you know, do good for the boss, do good work, and your life's going to be good, you know, and you could save some, have a family, and, you know, everything's going to be great at retirement time, because they had pensions. And, you know, my grandfather was like the last generation that had the pension,
right?
You know, and so I watched their life and I said, okay, well, I'm going to model that. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that worker. I'm going to work my ass off and make it for my family. And then I just watched slowly that pot boil my ass until here I am today. Like, what happened? And what I found was, like you said, they programmed that stuff to do it to me. They programmed the system to do it to me. And that's what I liked about crypto, was that it deprograms that and puts the money back into the power of the people so that they can actually own something tangible, immutable, that they can't mess with. And I think that's why there's so much pushback right now, is because they realize what's coming and what crypto can mean to the world. What is your opinion on it? How much do you know? I know that you're into gold, and that's, you know, I believe in it.
Here's the thing. You brought up the 80s. And so I know that you remember greed is good, right?
Oh yeah.
And the, you know, the big shoulders and the opulence and all of that. Okay. Well, when they want to set up a monetary transfer oath, this is one of my
look at that beauty.
This is Oliver.
Oliver, you are a boy. Look at that's a big boy right there.
Oh, he's a big boy, and he'll get a lot bigger because he's only about a year and a half old. That's one of I have layers of security. That's one of them. Nice. But what they always do when they want to make a transition, think about the roaring 20s, think about the 80s, and think about the 2020s, is they allow the public to make a lot of money at something so they can make that transition. Now, I don't know if you ever read the NSA white paper from 1996 on how to make a mint. And in that paper, did you read that?
I did not.
Okay, you might want to read it because
I will read that now.
Okay, definitely want to read that. And then about a year later, or 1998, there was a peer review paper on smart contracts.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry, because I know this is a crypto audience, but
No, please, Lynette, speak your piece and tell us your side. That's what this
Okay.
is for. We want to talk to you about who you are and what you know, because that's what
Okay.
I'm here to bridge that in.
Okay, because I've been paying attention to this for a very long time. I saw Bitcoin at $7.
Mhm.
Now, in January of 2009, that's when Bitcoin came out. In March of 2009, that's when the government started quantitative easing, the central banks, and doing this, right? I'm sorry, but I really don't think that it's a coincidence. If you read that NSA white paper, so much of what they talk about in there is what has actually come to pass. So I personally think that this whole, and look at what Wall Street's done with the cryptocurrencies, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've
It's turned into a
into
P.T. Barnum circus, is what
it
it's
really
done.
has, with, as you said, people wanting to hold it, and we're going to pay you interest, and who wants gold? It doesn't yield you anything, all that sort of very similar kind of language. But I do believe that they've gotten us ready for the shift into the new system, which is all digital, and getting people comfortable using it, comfortable in there. And would you automatically walk into their system? No, you wouldn't. So I think that this is being used.
An indoctrination.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Because
I really wish I didn't think that.
No, I like that because now I get to speak to it and we can actually have a conversation about what's really going on, because I too was in Bitcoin back before 2009, and I too understand what cryptography was back in the 70s, and I understand what that meant and how they can manipulate this, and I know that they have their fingers in it. I do know this.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because when Bitcoin came out, it was very a dilapidated technology. It was very simple, very basic, like you said, almost like an indoctrination. And I watched it and I said, well, this thing is garbage. It doesn't work very well. It's never going to be a medium of exchange. We've got gold. We've got payment processes. PayPal works great. All these other things work great. We've been dealing with digits for a long time. We haven't used cash in a long time. We've all been swiping cards for years and years and years.
Absolutely. They talked about this in the 20s, actually.
Yeah,
1920s.
it's nothing new. I mean, I can remember when they slid the carbon copy over your credit card, and I know you can also. And now it's, we swipe it digitally. It's just technology is changing.
Yes.
But something I saw, Lynette, when all of this was going on, and I felt the same way you did, especially when a coin out called XRP came out, and it really looked like a Fed bank coin. It looked like the banks are getting involved. This thing is just, it looks too bankerish to me. This thing is, they're coming into this space, and it's not for the people really. And then I saw this thing called Ethereum get made, and Ethereum put out an open source language that fixed the Bitcoin programming to where now you didn't have this dilapidated spaghetti code crap that always is pushing out bugs. And every time they tried to work on it and do something to it, they'd release another bug. Bitcoin's had 30 bugs, 2 inflation bugs where you can mint as many Bitcoins as you want. So they stopped trying to work on it because of that. And then this thing called Ethereum came out. And I watched it and I said, oh, well, this Ethereum looks great. And they fixed the code. They come out with this thing called Solidity, and Solidity was packetized data. And I was like, wow, wait a second. They've packetized and open sourced how to program this money. So anybody can come in and program money, because I knew, just like you just said it so beautifully, that they had programmed the money against us. They programmed the system against us. So my head said, okay, how about if one of these smart guys that we know, that we can trust, that we've seen in the community, build something that can reprogram that stuff to take it away from their control and give us the power. Give us the power of inflation. Give us the power of the Fed. Give us the power of commerce. Give us the power of creating the world that we want to see, our money, how we want our money to operate. And I watched it, Lynette, and I watched it for years. And I was involved in every single scam out there. You name it, I was crawling in the alleys looking at it and trying to figure out what it was. And it was true. It was full of shucksters, hucksters, and P.T. Barnums out there. The stock market got a hold of it, and I said, oh, that's the end of this whole thing. That's the end of it. It's done. Put a fork in it. Crypto is over. And I was about to walk away from it. And I bumped into a YouTube stream one day of this guy that called the top of the Bitcoin top they called it the Bitcoin 20K Christmas. And he called the top of it. And I was pissed. I was like, are you kidding me? This is not the top. It's 20K. We're partying now. Hey, my life's changing, man. You did it for me, Bitcoin. Cool. Well, the day after he said that stuff tanked. And it tanked down to $3,500. I mean, it was an absolute devastation of the crypto space. And I was mad as hell. And I was mad at that guy. And I said, man, this was supposed to be the thing that was going to save us. Because look, Lynette, I understand, diversification, and I understand, the value of gold. I just found out, and I was talking to my mother about you and having you on the show and how excited I was. And I started talking to her about the gold, because my father just passed away a little over a year ago. And I was given, thank you. And I was given his gold. And the gold that was, split up between the kids, of course. But the gold that I got was the gold. I thought it was just my grandfather's and my father's gold. Well, I found out that some of my great grandfather's gold was in there too.
Nice.
So it was passed down generation after generation after generation, of course. And my gold that I own was in there also. So I'm looking at this pile of gold, and my mother told me, hey, it's 4 generations, not 3. And I was looking at 4 generations of gold, and I'm saying, well, it's been a hedge for us all this time, but we've never used it. It's sitting in my safe. Okay. It's there in case of the zombie apocalypse. And I just use that term as, loosely. So great. It's there. It's locked up. And I still need to diversify myself into some more. I like the things that you say about it. I like having a percentage of my assets in just about everything, real estate, metals, precious metals, all these things. So I understand. I believe it. But the currency, the problem that we're seeing with currency, I think that gold is that hedge for that problem, for that time when things do go to pot, when we lose everything and we need some type of way to do commerce. But in my opinion, I don't see that imminent right now. What I see right now is the money system being broken and needing to be fixed. And when I got mad at this guy because he had made a statement and crushed my whole world about what crypto was supposed to be. And it was supposed to be that thing that fixed it all for us. That got my buddies off the couch, and they weren't going to be dying there drinking themselves to death because they didn't have a future. So I was mad because he told the truth. He told the truth and said that this stuff is going to crash, and it's going to crash right now. And he didn't give an explanation as to why, but he said it's going to be a 3-year bear market. Stand by. It's going to come back. But you know what? I'm going to do something about this. And this was just a regular guy with a handful of followers on YouTube. And so I watched him, and he built a cryptocurrency alpha, this Ethereum platform. And I was like, hey, if this guy really does what I think he's going to do, then we might have something here. And he did. He created this thing called Hex. And, and I'm not shilling the crypto on you. What I'm trying to explain to folks like you and to people like you is that they built a real crypto. that takes the power away from the banks, that takes the power away from the shucksters, the hucksters, and inside of crypto. We've got an immutable coded contract nobody can touch, nobody can unravel, that's built on solid technology, that's been up and running for 2.5 years, that generates its own yield. And that yield, the inflation of this token, is only 3.69% a year and goes to the staking class. So the people that actually stake this token, that actually put it in a savings account, and nobody else holds it. You don't give up custody ever. You hold your tokens, and when you put them away for a specified amount of time and you contract yourself to that time, then you make the inflation of the coin. So what's beautiful about that is that the inflation is only at 3.69%, and it's going to stakers that are holding it for up to 15 years. So the inflation is delayed. So it's a better way of doing money. So I'm seeing this and I'm going, wow, okay, now I think we have something here. Now I think that crypto has a chance. And so that's what we've been doing, is trying to get the word out to people and talk to people like yourself. Because I mean, in an ideal world, I understand I do understand your thoughts about crypto, and I get it. I would look at it that way too. But if you were to find something that was immutable code, that fixed money and made it for the people and made it, how can you say, made it rational money, made its code rational to where, I mean, obvious, we got to have inflation of some type.
Why?
But how about if,
why do we have to have it? Why do we have to have inflation?
Do we not have inflation in gold?
No.
Gold doesn't inflate as the miners bring the gold to the world?
No, gold does not inflate, and we can account for pretty much all the gold that has ever been mined.
But it's still being mined.
And exactly, that's where I was going next. That is still, and we can also account for, I mean, maybe there are some places maybe they haven't found gold, but we know the in-ground gold, the Department of the Interior does a report on it every year. So we know how much gold is in ground, and we know how much gold is above ground, and it's indestructible. And that's what you base the fundamental value on. But there were a couple things that you said, and I'd like to ask you a question too, because it's all about learning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. Nobody knows everything. And I'm always open to new ideas. And I'll change my mind if I can see that I should change my mind. I don't have a problem with that. But I would say that when you made fun of the zombie apocalypse, are you aware of all of the zombie corporations are out there now?
Oh,
And
yeah.
exactly what that means. So for us to have a zombie apocalypse, it's not necessarily the living dead that are walking around to eat your brains, but it is the living dead corporations that don't earn enough money to pay the interest, let alone any of the principal, for at least 3 years. And that's a zombie corporation. And as the interest rates rise, all of the debt that they couldn't pay before, but the banks didn't want to show the losses on their books, so they kept loaning them money, that will have to stop. And you know, the thing is that the Fed has to raise rates for their credibility. They have to do it. But I think you're going to, right, exactly. But you're going to see a pivot really fast when everything starts to implode, because there is only one way to fight deflation, a falling market, and that's with inflation. And there's only one way to fight inflation, and that's with deflation. But if you look at it, there is not one doubt in my mind, and I've been studying this for many, many, many years, that we are at the end of this currency's life cycle, and I'll tell you why. Number one, and anybody can do this, the Federal Reserve website, the Fred, is like my favorite place. I'm always in there looking at stuff. So there's lots of great stuff. But if you said you only have one chart that you can use, I would say then it's the purchasing power chart. Because it doesn't matter how many of these things you have. This is nothing, right? It matters what you can convert them into, right? What you can buy with them. So the real trend is in the purchasing power. officially we're at 3 cents. But truthfully, with the inflation heating up, what that is really showing you is the destruction of the last vestige of any value in that currency. And the only tool that central bankers really have, they always talk about their tools, but they never get specific. That's because they're making so much of this up, they don't know what they're doing. The only tool that they really have are interest rates. But the interest rates have been anchored at 0 since 2008.
Yeah, we've been
You know?
stuck.
Exactly. So they're between a rock and a hard place, and the only choices are policy errors. There's no good policy here. So I would beg to differ. I'm 100% certain, there's not one doubt in my mind, but that we are at the end of this currency's life cycle. And so you need to be in a position to weather it. So that's the statement, hence my pieces of 8. But the question then becomes, do I need to be, and it's gold and silver are simple for me to understand, right? They're physical, they're in my possession, and they have the most functionality of any asset because they're used across every single area of the global economy. So 100% of the time, there's demand, and there's demand in lots of areas. So maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down, but it's never, ever in 6,000 years gone to 0.
But let's talk about the rational solutions to what's going on. So let's just say,
Absolutely, because there's
because
really
the dollar,
not enough gold and silver for everybody to be able to protect themselves. So I'd
there
like
isn't.
to think that there is, another way to protect yourself.
So the dollar is the currency that everything is based upon today, as far as value is concerned in the world. But you say it's at its end of its life cycle.
It's at the end, and they
it's
all
at the end.
are. And the other piece is,
We've seen the other ones where wheelbarrows are being rolled out with this stuff to go buy loaves of bread and all that crazy crap. But let's face it, we're in the 21st century. The world has amazing computing power, amazing technologies. We're not going to go backwards on all of these things.
Nope.
Life is a lot better for human beings today when it comes to technology than it ever has. Medical technologies, transportation technologies, even the damn war machine is full of technology. I don't see us going backwards on any of these things.
Nope.
The currency going away or needing help, what's going to replace it? What do you see that looking like? If we're still in a digital world, if we're still,
I think it's digital, 100%. And I've read enough of their documentation. Of course, they wanted to be CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, that programmable money, and no autonomy. And hey, central bank right now, they make a policy, it takes them 18 months to go through the system. Did it work the way we wanted it to work? You have a digital currency, you're not, because we're a consumer driven economy, you're not spending money fast enough. Okay, we'll just take you deeper into negative territory. So I agree with you 100% that we're going digital. And I would love, you have no idea how much I would love to see a fair digital currency. That would be great.
But I'm showing it to you. Hex is that digital currency. And you have to. And this isn't coming from a guy that's trying to shill a product or I'm looking for solutions to real problems.
Right.
I'm 55 years old. I worked my ass to the bone. I've got 8 herniated discs. I got a family that doesn't know me. I worked my ass off to have a life that I can retire into. And me and my buddies don't. And it's burned my ass for a long time. And I get really passionate about this because I've been looking for a solution. I'm like, how the hell are we going to save all these people? What are we going to do? And I go to these events. I see the Rebel Capitalist event. I listen to you all on stage and I hear you all saying the same things, the same problems, the same issues. Y'all have the same heart as I do. Where's the solution? And I found it. I found the solution. It is an immutable cryptocurrency that we can use that they can't mess with. That is the best
can I ask
inflation model
you?
I've ever seen.
Okay, and I'm
Uh-huh.
definitely going to look at it.
Yeah.
But if you is it okay? So what would be the tool of barter, and what would be the basis for creation? Because I can tell you so far with the CBDCs, and I hate those. I mean,
Yeah.
I am totally against them. I'm not against private, but I am
Mhm.
against the guys that got us into this mess remaining
Yes.
in control and
Of
having
course.
even more control.
Of course.
Uh,
And that's this whole community. That's what we are about, is about our control, us controlling our money. Nobody else, not me, not any community members, not any company, not anything that's controlling it. It's immutable code, meaning I can go onto the internet and download a wallet that nobody owns. It's just a wallet that exists out there. You can sandbox it. It's secure cryptography, and you own it because it is open source software. This wallet is yours. It's just like if you picked up a bag off the ground and put your gold in it. This is your bag, and you put your gold in it. So we can create a wallet out there now. And with that wallet, we have a cryptocurrency that exists, and it exists on exchanges that are decentralized. Like, you can't go to a centralized exchange. Well, there are some centralized exchanges that are carrying the currency, but you go to the major exchanges and you're not going to see it. You're not going to, it doesn't get, the people that hold this token don't put it on those exchanges because those are middlemen. They hold your crypto.
right.
So we now have decentralized exchanges where you go up, you operate the code, and the community itself puts the liquidity on the exchange. So I want to make some money off of the cryptos that I have. I put my hex up there up against a US dollar token, and oops, I'm going out of focus. I put that up on the decentralized exchange. And when people trade into it and want to buy that crypto, I make the fees off of that. Me as a normal citizen, I don't have to have any KYC AML. I can just go up to this decentralized exchange. I can place my crypto there, save it there, and make money off of people trading it, and make crypto, of course, exchange
So
off of trading.
are you loaning that crypto to
No
trade?
counterparty. It is
No
an open
counterparty.
source code. It's called a DEX, a decentralized exchange. This just came out in the last 2 years. They got rid of the centralized exchanges and said, hey, we can make code that's way better than what you guys are doing. And we'll give the community the opportunity to put the liquidity up there. And you put the liquidity up, you take it down, and you make your earnings. Nobody holds that there but you. You're the person, you are in sole custody of that liquidity on that decentralized exchange. Nobody has the keys to turn it on, turn it off. It belongs to the community, right? So with that, having an exchange, having a wallet, and having a crypto that is made outside of any entity, nobody has control of it. Nobody has the keys. Nobody can turn it on, turn it off. Nobody can, change the code on it. Hex exists, and that's it. The code is completed. It's finished. It's done. It was audited 3 different times. No problems. It's been running smoothly for 2.5 years. And
And
the
so are you
inflation.
mining it to create more of it? Or
So that's how it works, Lynette. So the mining algorithm is gone. That technology is old. It should have never been held
oh,
on to. The mining technology is wasteful. It's slow, and the miners are actually in consortium with one another, and
right,
they've created these cabals of
right,
mining consortiums where you can't just go out and be a Bitcoin miner and think you're some free guy. You got to belong to a pool. You got to give your life to the gang, basically, and be part of it in order to get in the mining pool. So that's turned into a whole mess issue. So the proof of stake model, which is really where crypto should have gone into. Look, we're 12 years into this thing, and we're still looking at the first technology that ever came out. That's never been heard of in technology. You never look at the first thing. The first thing was a concept.
right.
It was to help us get started. That's all Bitcoin was. Ethereum was a concept. They just proved concepts that we can move forward into this thing. Decentralization is where it's at. And having a crypto that's immutable, done, finished, and nobody has control of is where it's at. See, because that's the one thing Bitcoin had going for it, is that when Satoshi built it and threw it out there, whether it was Satoshi or whomever, it
Right.
exists out there forever. And it's just there. and you can't do anything about it. It's just going to keep running. It's just going to keep mining. It's just going to keep doing its thing because it is immutable. The code is immutable. Now they can, the miners can roll back the chain or start a new chain and say, nah, this is the new Bitcoin here. And there you go. It's not immutable because the miners can decide what you want to do with it. Now, proof of stake coins are different. Proof of stake works differently. Instead of having these multi-billions of computers out there that are sucking up all this electricity and the cabals that are created by it, you have proof of stake, which is a handful of computers owned by the community, basically, because it's proof of stake. If you put your crypto into that node, they call it, that computer system that's running the transactions and keeping the ledger, then you're putting trust in it, and by staking. And of course, in doing so, you get a little bit of the yield of the transactions. That's how proof of stake works. So basically, by staking your coins in Hex or on a node, what you're doing is you're contributing to a system that is a lot smaller than the Bitcoin mining system, and you're proofing the system state of that node. And what you do is you generate yield from that, and it's immutable. Nobody owns it. There is no middleman. You get the inflation of the tokens because you're in a proof of stake model. And that's how Hex works, by the code, allowing you to stake it and make a contract with yourself. It's like a CD. Think of it like a crypto CD. So now you can go operate the function of the contract. Now, anybody could build a front end of this contract. And, you know, if one contract site goes away, another contract site can pop up over here, another one can pop up over here, because it's open source code. So now anybody can go in, operate the functions of the code, and the functions of the code say, Lynette, what would you like to do with your Hex? Your Hex works just like Bitcoin. It goes back and forth. It just does it faster and more safe than Bitcoin does. But you can stake it. So Lynette, what do you want to do with your Hex? You want to stake it for 15 years, or you want to stake it for 1 day? Anywhere in between, you can stake it for that long. And you make the contract with yourself. So let's just say it's 5 days. You put it in for 5 days. 5 days comes up, boom, you unstake it. And it's yours. And whatever gains you made off of the inflation of the coin in those 5 days, that is yours to keep. So you made a little bit of interest off of the crypto that was mined into existence by your stake. So think of your stake as like a little mini miner is what it is. It's a little miner. That's how the inflation of the coin comes out. Bitcoin, 21 million coins, like gold, ever going to come out of the ground. 21 million Bitcoins ever going to be existent. The miners get their little share of it. And then they dump it on the market. Dollars get, printed by the Fed. They print the dollars into existence to the bank. The bank dumps it on our heads.
Right.
Just like Bitcoin does, they dump that on our heads. So the inflation is always out there and always devaluing what we all have in our savings accounts and in our Bitcoin.
Everything that's in
accounts.
existence.
Exactly.
So,
but Hex doesn't do that.
Okay, can you help me understand something? Because I've really been struggling with this, and since we're having this conversation.
Yes.
Okay. What I know is that gold and silver have more functionality than any other assets because they are used in the financial system, in art, in food, in jewelry, in manufacturing, in medical, and more. So they're used, they have tremendous functionality, and that gives them the broadest base of buyer, right? Can you explain to me the functionality of Hex or any of the coins? And because I can see some of it where you can carry a lot of wealth in that little wallet, and you can
carry it in my head, Lynette. I can walk across borders with my codes in my head, meaning they can't take it from me ever. I don't have to carry a bag of gold.
Best part of functionality. But what other functionality does this have?
Fixes money. So, like I said before, in order to get a monetary system, they're going to inflate something. And that's what I meant by that is they're going to inflate something. They're going to create money out of thin air. They're going to put code out there into thin air. they're going to bring us that. That's how it's going to happen. If it's not the dollar, it's going to be something else. When the dollar dies, they'll bring something, like you said, like a digital currency.
Right.
To us or
It'll be a digital dollar. They'll keep the name because then people won't realize that anything has changed, even when everything has changed. That's
exactly.
The way
They'll load you up. They'll airdrop everybody a certain amount of it, and you get to get started on the right foot and make everybody want it because they're going to get a bunch of it for free.
They gave everybody FedNow accounts. What was that? 2019, I think. Everybody, every single person has the FedNow account,
so they will. However, they are never going to be able to front run what the DeFi space is doing right now. So this is really crypto pirates.
Gives me hope, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I'm trying to get out to everybody, is that we're pirating this shit. We are pirating this. What Richard Hart did with Hex by bringing it to the world and putting it out there, it's game over. You can't stop it. You can try and regulate it out of existence, and that's the only thing that I ever fear, is them regulating it out of existence. But we're all making steps to try and help, you know, stop that from happening too. And I don't know if we're going to all be successful at it or whatever, but you know, we're going to go play the you can't beat them, join them game, and try and get legislation passed to make DeFi crypto last, to make it part of the economy, to make it, you know, a viable solution. And we do have some people climbing on board with it. I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic, however, because, you know, you and I both know the powers that be are very, very powerful, and they don't want to lose
without a fight.
They're not going to go down without a fight.
Really, that's my stance. I know, I don't have any doubt in my mind at all, and I've said this many times, that this is where we're going. Where you are, that's where the whole world is headed. Yes. But what I don't know, what none of us know at this point, is who's going to survive that ride, and what it's, if we have our druthers, you and me, if we have our druthers, you have a much more fair monetary system on the other side of this, because the system is absolutely set up against the little guy.
Yes.
So for me, balancing out the gold to make sure that, you know, I mean, I always like to say, what if I'm right and what if I'm wrong? Okay. If I can do something that really doesn't matter whether or not I'm right or wrong, that's what I like to do. So I don't think it's horrible having cryptos at all. I'm not against cryptos. I definitely see that that's the future. That's where we're headed. But what I don't know is what's going to happen along the way, because we are in for a massively bumpy ride. They have to get rid of all of that debt that's out there. And the only thing that I've been able to see so far with the CBDCs is that they're going to justify creating it from debt. And that means that they have to burn off all of the debt that's justified all of this money printing. Mm-hmm. And that
the reset
is a hyperinflationary depression. That's what it is. And then ultimately a reset. Absolutely. But, you know, every day inflation of any kind is resetting the value, right? It's just happening slower, but in hyperinflation, it happens faster. I mean, if I walk into your house every day for 30 years, I take one button. By the end of 30 years, I have a lot of your buttons, but you might not know about it. If I walk into your house tonight and I take 98% of the buttons in your house, chances are when you go to get dressed tomorrow, you might notice it. So that's the difference between inflation and hyperinflation. It's simply the speed. And that's what, you know, when we talk about the zombie, I hope you're right, but I don't think you are, because history tells a different story. And it's happened over 4,800 times. Most of that since we shifted into the Federal Reserve System in the early 1900s. So that's my biggest concern. I am going to look at Hex, because I would love to have a solution that would help the normal person. I mean, it is time for us to rip the power out of these idiots and those evil guys that, you know, take advantage of people's unfortunately, ignorance. I don't mean to say that, but the reality
Yeah.
is ignorance
Well,
doesn't
it's
make
just then not, we haven't been
you
educated. I mean, I
vulnerable.
wasn't educated.
Right.
I was educated to go work. I wasn't educated about
Right.
finance and what money means and what it does and how. I didn't know anything about inflation.
They
I
don't
didn't
want you
understand
to
how it
know
worked.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't want you to know it because then you go, what? This is what money's created for? No, that's not okay with me.
Yeah. When I found out about fractional reserve banking and started to really understand what it was, and I was like, how in the hell have they been able to get away with this? Who said that was going to be a good idea? You know, I
Bankers.
obviously that's the ones who thought it was, a good idea to do it that way. So, you know, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me, Lynette. It's been incredible, and to hear from somebody like yourself, and to hear the openness, and to know that we all want the same thing. I
We
keep
all
telling
do.
everybody,
We,
we all want the same thing. We want
we do.
security. We want our families to be healthy. We want to live a good long life. We want to be able to take care of our kids and our grandkids, and enjoy that, and do it in safety, and bring on as much peace and as much innovation to the world as we possibly can. We all want the same things. There's
Yeah,
about
we do.
10% of the stuff that we have differences in, and all that stuff doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. When I sit down with human beings and we have a real human conversation, I agree with 90% of the stuff they agree upon. And no matter what political or religious background or any of that kind of stuff, none of that stuff really matters when we start
Yeah.
talking to real people about what's really going on out there. And I
Yeah.
honestly and truly believe that what we've found with this cryptocurrency over the last 2.5 years, and where we've seen it go and what we've seen it do, that this is the thing that can actually change money. It can fix it.
Oh,
There was a saying
yeah.
in cryptocurrency, it's fix the money, fix the world. And but when I got into this space, I said, no, 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 you got to fix crypto first. And then you can fix the money, then you can fix the world. And Hex fixed crypto. It really did, Lynette. And I can't
I
wait. Or
totally
hopefully
love
we can sit
crypto.
down and I can show you some of this. And I'm open to you if you guys want to sit down and I can explain it, because I know I have to have a
I'd
meeting
like to. You
with
know
your
what?
people about gold.
Yeah, I am so open to seeing what our alternatives are, because you made such an accurate statement. We all want the same thing. And I'm here because this is community. And we don't have to
Exactly.
agree on everything,
No,
but we can all agree that things are going to I don't know if I can say this on air, but
you
they're
can say
going to
whatever you
hell
want.
because we're at the end. We're at the
Yes.
end. And so it's not just gold and silver and cryptos, it's food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. We need to be as independent and self-sufficient as we possibly can be. And the only way to really do that is to come together in community,
Yes.
because everybody has different talents and everybody has different resources. And it takes a village.
It does.
It takes a
And
village.
that's the one thing. So I pride myself on being one of the founders of the Hex community. We call ourselves Hexicans, because we were the ones that discovered this crypto. We all got online, and I have a Friday night show where I just let everybody come on, and we all talk, and we unpeeled the onion of this thing, and we looked at the code, and we brought coders in, and we looked at the audits, and we brought people in that read the audits, and we went over all of it, and then we looked at its immutability, and how separated from everything was it. And over the last 2 years, oh, I lost my camera. It's okay. It'll come back. But over the last couple of years, that's what this community was built on, was us learning about what this was all about. And in the meantime, a lot of us got very, very wealthy. And that was just a byproduct of this, because to be completely honest with you, Lynette, I want to change the world. I want to fix my buddies that are sitting on their couches destitute. The little guy has been kicked around for far too long. And
Yes.
this is the great equalizer. I believe that we are in the middle of what is going to be the greatest transference of wealth that we've ever seen, because you and I both know
Great.
that money doesn't go away. Wealth, money doesn't go away. It
It
just
just shifts
moves.
location.
It just
Right.
moves locations. That
Mhm.
is all. It does not go away. And it is going to shift into this space, into the cryptocurrency space.
I
That's where
agree
we're
with
seeing
that
it start
too.
to happen. We're starting to see momentum. The banks tried to play the if we can't beat them, join them game. Stock market has played the can't beat them, join them game, and they've both failed miserably at it. And the immutability and the decentralization, I believe, is the pirate's frontier. This is where we're at. We are pirating finance right now, and we are going to bring a currency to the world that is going to play Robin Hood and swashbuckle this whole thing. That's what I believe I'm doing. That's what I believe in, and what this currency is doing. It's changing lives. That's all I've seen it do is change lives, and nobody can stop it. The
Just
internet's
keep
not
in
going away.
mind that one of the keys that they use when they're making this transition is that you make a lot of money, because then you don't stop it, you don't question it, you just kind of move forward. I will definitely look at Hex. I'm really interested in that because I look, are we going back on the gold standard? Not
Doubt it.
completely. But history also tells us, no, this is what history tells us. It happened over 4,800 times, without exception. When all confidence in the currency and the powers that be occur, and we're close to that, that's when they have to bring gold back into the currency on some level. I'm not saying 100% back in, but on some level, because that's how they get confidence to get the public to use the currency again. So, do I think that this solves everything? No, I do think that it protects you. And so, taking some of those gains from the cryptos, converting it into gold so that you have a diversified portfolio,
Yes.
tangible, makes a whole lot of sense. What if I'm right? What if I'm wrong? Cover your base.
I
Doesn't matter.
totally agree with diversification, and I totally agree with having some of your assets in gold and silver and precious metals. So with that, would you please tell everybody about your site, your company, and let them
Sure.
know who you are, what you do. I know you didn't ask to come on and do that, but I want to give you that courtesy.
Thank you. But ITM Trading is a full service physical gold and silver dealer. We do have people there, some of the consultants that are very into cryptos as well, because it is the same mindset. It really is. We're the same community. But what makes us different than any other place is the strategy that I developed based upon my studies of currencies since 1987. And I don't really know too many. I don't know anybody else. There are people that have studied it that long and longer, but I don't know them. So I'll say that. And it's a pattern. It's just based on repeatable patterns. So it's not rocket science. And it's about sustaining your standard of living, which is what we have to do as we burn off all the garbage that's out there right now. And then being in a position to take advantage of the opportunities that present. I have absolutely zero doubt in my mind, but that at some point I will own cryptocurrencies because that's the direction that we're going in.
Me
No
too.
doubt in my mind at all. And maybe it's Hex. I'll take a look.
So here's what we'll do. You and I will talk, and I will teach you everything that I know about the DeFi
Good.
space and Hex,
Please.
and we'll answer any questions that you have and show you how it's done and how it works in the DeFi world versus in the custody world of crypto custodies and middlemen. And then we'll have you back on the show. How's that sound?
That sounds perfect.
Because I really want to talk to you about your home and what you've done with it, because that is the one thing that I am fascinated by. The last time I was out visiting Ken McElroy, I wanted to come see your place, and I just didn't get it. It was in a rush. I had to see my doctor. Ken and I have the same doctor, and by the time I couldn't get in contact with you or your daughter and just try and hit you up. But next time I'm going to be out there shortly. I'm getting ready to do a retreat, and I need to decouple from the world for a little bit. And I'm going to go do a retreat out there. And hopefully you and I can set something up. We can go eat dinner and come see your place.
Absolutely. But we would
Right on.
probably eat dinner here because this is where I grow all my food.
Oh, I know. I can't. I saw the pictures. I've seen the slides of your house. It's really, really cool. Guys, wait till you see she's done with her place and her prepability. She is
That
fully
is exactly
self-sustained.
right. Yep.
She has her whole place is fully self-contained, self-sustainable. The water, the fish, the whole thing you've got, it's just freaking awesome. So we'll get to talk about that next time. But I would you mind staying in the green room for just a quick second?
Sure.
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and we'll catch up. Ladies and gentlemen, Lynette Zang. Thank you, Lynette.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. All right, guys, that was the Queen of Gold herself, Lynette Zang. We're going to talk crypto with her, and then hopefully we'll get her to come back on and tell us about her experience, good or bad. We'll have her on, and appreciate you all. Thanks for coming. You guys take care. We'll see you next Monday. Going to have another special guest on next Monday. Going to be fun. So you guys take care. See ya.